Every day, millions of people wake up, face the world, and without realizing it, enter complex strategic games, silent negotiations, disguised power struggles, social dynamics with invisible rules. They do what they have learned is right. They work hard, try to be good, avoid conflicts, and collaborate whenever possible. But, mysteriously, they continue to fall behind. They are overlooked for promotions, manipulated in relationships, exploited in negotiations, and seen as weak by those who know how to play the game. And the most disturbing part, they don't even know they are playing. The feeling of constantly losing, of being good but not good enough, of giving more than receiving, of feeling that something is wrong with you, is in fact a symptom of a much deeper problem. It's not about bad luck. It's not a matter of intelligence, effort, or merit. It's about strategic ignorance. The harsh truth is, most people are participating in social and psychological games without knowing that there are rules, patterns, and strategies at play. And those who don't understand the game are used as pieces within it. It was exactly this insight that led mathematicians like John von Neumann and John Nash to develop a theory that would revolutionize our understanding of human behavior: game theory. Far beyond calculations and formulas, this theory exposes the hidden logic behind human interactions. From the most trivial, like choosing where to have lunch with colleagues, to the most crucial, like a salary negotiation, a family conflict, or building a career. John Nash, in particular, demonstrated with his concept of Nash equilibrium that there is a point in every strategic interaction where none of the participants can improve their situation by changing their strategy alone. But here's the critical point. Knowing this is what separates those who win from those who are defeated. Most people play too cooperatively when they should compete, and too competitively when they should cooperate. They treat their romantic partner as an adversary and their boss as a friend. They give what they shouldn't, retreat when they need to advance, and hesitate where they should stand firm. In practice, what game theory reveals is that there are different types of games: zero-sum games, positive-sum games, repeated games, one-off games, and each requires a completely distinct strategic approach. But what do most people do? They use the same mindset all the time. They try to play chess with football rules. The result? They are easily manipulated by those who understand the rules. They are predictable pieces, vulnerable, easy to exploit. In this video, we will expose the structure of these hidden games. We will show how decisions that seem emotional or personal actually follow precise mathematical patterns. And more importantly, we will teach the strategies you can apply to stop being a pawn and start acting like a strategist. Because contrary to popular belief, winning in life is not about luck or charisma. It's about recognizing the game being played and consciously choosing how to play. Those who master these rules gain a decisive advantage. And for those who continue to play blindly, defeat ceases to be a coincidence and becomes inevitable. The question remains, how many times have you been exploited without realizing it? How many times have you trusted when you should have protected? How many times have you been nice and lost because of it? It's time to stop playing instinctively and start playing strategically. And it all starts now. The biggest trap of modern life is not the scarcity of opportunities, nor external competition. It is the fact that most human interactions seem spontaneous, emotional, or casual, when in reality they follow logical and predictable structures. Everyone is playing a game. The problem is that almost no one realizes they are in a game. Game theory, which emerged from the heart of mathematics and economics, revealed something both frightening and liberating at the same time. Social life, your friendships, your romantic relationships, your workplace disputes, your family agreements, all of these are games. And more, these games have patterns that repeat. They follow silent rules. They have incentives, traps, dominant strategies, and you participate in them every day, even without knowing it. Let's make this clearer. There are games called zero-sum, where one person's gain is another's loss, like a negotiation where there are limited resources. If you win, the other loses. Simple. But there are also positive-sum games where everyone can win together if they cooperate strategically, like in long-lasting relationships or team projects. And there are repeated games where you interact with the same person multiple times, a coworker, a romantic partner, and one-time games, where that interaction will never happen again, like buying a car from a stranger. The big mistake most people make? Using the same approach for all these types of games. They try to solve everything with kindness and good faith, even when faced with an opponent who only understands the language of force. Or conversely, they act with distrust and aggression in situations that would require mutual cooperation. Imagine the disaster. Treating a one-time salary negotiation as if it were a long-term relationship, yielding to avoid conflict. Result, you end up with less than you deserve. Now imagine the opposite, treating a marriage or a deep friendship as a zero-sum game, where one must lose for the other to win. This destroys trust and undermines the relationship. And this is where we begin to understand the devastating power of strategic ignorance. People who seem too nice are often crushed in competitive games, and those who are too tough sabotage their own bonds in cooperative games. In both cases, the result is the same: loss, frustration, a sense of living below one's potential. When you start to identify the type of game you're involved in, something changes radically. You stop reacting impulsively and start responding strategically. You cease to be manipulated by those who know how to play and begin to choose your moves with precision. It's not about becoming cold or calculating. It's about stopping being naive. Because the truth is that not every game needs to be won, but every game needs to be understood. And now that you understand the invisible structure that governs your daily interactions, it's time to take a step forward. Let's reveal why you keep losing, even while being intelligent, hard-working, and well-intentioned. The mistake may not be in what you do, but in how and when you decide to act. Get ready for the next part. If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. Have you ever wondered why, despite being a reasonable, dedicated, and even intelligent person, you keep getting taken advantage of? Why are you constantly ignored in important decisions? Why does it seem that while you play fair, others manipulate the system and win? The answer lies not in your lack of ability, but in your lack of strategic adjustment. The brutal truth is that most people play too cooperatively in competitive games, and too competitively in games that require cooperation. This destructive inversion doesn't happen because you are foolish. It happens because you have been conditioned. From an early age, we learn that being a good person means being flexible, yielding, and avoiding conflict. However, this doesn't work in a zero-sum game where your gain depends on your ability to assert yourself. As a result, you enter a salary negotiation acting as if you are talking to a friend, afraid of seeming difficult, and walk away with half the amount you could have secured. Now look at the other side. How many times have you treated someone who wanted to help you like an enemy? How many times have you sabotaged a partnership out of pride? How many times have you competed where you should have collaborated? It's the other extreme, using aggression in positive-sum games. This destroys trust, corrodes bonds, and turns you into an island surrounded by resentment. The reality is that you may be losing, not because you are playing poorly, but because you are using the right strategy in the wrong game. Robert Axelrod, in his seminal study, The Evolution of Cooperation, demonstrated that even among selfish agents, cooperation can emerge naturally, if there is a strategic structure for it. But when that structure is ignored, when we react impulsively or repeat patterns without thinking, We become easy targets. And here's a key point that most overlook. You are not exploited because you are weak. You are exploited because you are predictable. People know you will always yield. They know you won't retaliate. They know you avoid confrontation. And with that information, they put you in their pocket. The first step to escaping this trap is to recognize that not all kindness is virtue. In certain games, being nice is being naive, and in others, being too tough is being foolish. Strategy is knowing the difference, but recognizing the structure and avoiding the destructive inversion is still not enough. True mastery begins when you learn the specific tactics that work in each type of game. And that's exactly what we will see in the next part. We will delve into the scientifically proven strategies that allow you to win, not with brute force, but with mathematical precision. And the first of these is surprisingly simple, yet powerful: the principle of tit for tat. Imagine that each of your relationships, every professional collaboration, every ongoing interaction you have with a person, whether a friend, partner, co-worker, or even a family member, is in fact a multi-round game, a repeated game. And in this type of game, the way you act today directly shapes how the other person will treat you tomorrow. This is exactly the kind of situation that Robert Axelrod studied in his famous tournament of strategies for the iterated prisoner's dilemma. Various experts from fields such as economics, biology, political science, and mathematics submitted algorithms with their best strategies to win games where cooperation and betrayal are constant possibilities, and the results surprised everyone. The simplest, most straightforward and minimalist strategy defeated all the others, even those that were highly complex. Its name? Tit for tat. This strategy works with a brutally simple logic. In the first interaction, you cooperate. You give the benefit of the doubt. But from the second round onward, you simply mirror the other person's behavior. If they cooperate, you cooperate. If they betray, you retaliate. If they cooperate again, you forgive and cooperate once more. There is no resentment. There is no submission. There is only relentless reciprocity. And why does this work so well? Because tit for tat establishes a clear signal. I want to cooperate, but I'm not a fool. This builds immediate respect. It prevents being exploited by abusive strategies while rewarding trustworthy partners. It also discourages future cheating, as the response will be immediate. Tit for tat creates a cycle of mutual accountability. Applied to real life, this means the following. In relationships, start with generosity, but react firmly to boundary violations. At work, collaborate with colleagues, but if disrespected, show immediately that there are consequences. At home, maintain agreements, but if there is a breach of trust, signal clearly that trust needs to be restored. Now think, how many times have you been kind to someone who treated you poorly and continued being kind? How many times have you been exploited because you were afraid of looking rude if you responded in kind? That's not kindness, it's submission. And continuous submission does not inspire respect. It invites exploitation. Tit for tat teaches a powerful principle. Cooperation is a strategic choice, not a moral obligation. And reciprocity is the universal language of respect. People who continue to cooperate, even when being exploited, are not virtuous. They are predictable. And predictability is weakness in repeated games. But beware. Tit for tat is not a war strategy. It is a strategy of balance. Its goal is not to destroy, but to create stability. When applied correctly, it establishes a trust system based on real consequences. And this type of system is incredibly effective at transforming even the most hostile environments into ecosystems of mutual respect. However, there is one detail. Not all cooperation is sufficient to establish authority. Sometimes it is necessary to go beyond reciprocity and deliberately limit your options to gain an advantage. Does that seem counterintuitive? That's because it is. But that is exactly what we will see in the next part when we talk about the hidden power of commitment devices and how restricting your choices can be the key to mastering any negotiation. In many life situations, appearing flexible is seen as a positive trait, being adaptable, negotiating, conceding when necessary. But there is a strategic paradox that most people overlook. The more options you have, the less power you convey. This is precisely why some of the most influential people in advantageous positions create situations where they voluntarily limit themselves. This move, to restrict your own alternatives, is what we call a commitment device. The idea may sound strange at first. After all, why would someone give up freedom in a game of interests? The answer lies in credibility. In strategic interactions, what you say you will do has little value if the other party believes you might change your mind. But if you eliminate that possibility, it becomes dangerous to ignore your position. You become more credible. And in game theory, credibility is power. Think of a classic example. A general invades a territory and upon reaching the beach, orders his soldiers to burn their own ships. There is no turning back. They will win or die. This extreme action forces everyone, allies and enemies, to take the threat seriously. And the curious thing is that this medieval logic remains alive in modern negotiations. In a real context, this means the following. When you enter a salary negotiation and say, "This is the minimum amount I will accept," but the other party knows you will concede if pressured, your word is worthless. Now, if you have already received another job offer, or if you publicly communicate that you will only accept certain conditions, you create a reputational or practical cost to backtrack. You strategically tie yourself down, and with that, you gain power. In personal life, the same applies. A person who sets clear boundaries and reinforces them with actions, such as distancing themselves from those who violate them, conveys strength. Someone who always threatens but never acts loses authority with every word spoken. Commitment devices work because they invert the psychological game. They take control out of your hands on purpose and place the pressure on the other side. They communicate, "I cannot concede, even if I wanted to," and this drastically alters the power dynamic. But beware, a commitment only has power if it is visible and involves real cost. Saying you will leave your job if you are not promoted, but never taking action, weakens your position. On the other hand, communicating your decision to your boss and starting to reach out to your connections at other companies signals that you are moving and that there is no bluff. This principle is fundamental in high-stakes negotiations, but also in life decisions. Creating points of no return can be the only way to protect yourself from destructive concessions. Whether by signing a contract, making a public announcement, or definitively breaking away from an abusive situation, commitment is not an obstacle. It is a strategic weapon. And now that you understand the power of limiting your options to increase your strength, we need to take an even deeper step. Understanding that not all strategic messages are communicated with words. Often what truly moves the game are signals, costly, silent actions, but highly credible. And that is exactly what we will explore in the next part, when we discuss the brutal logic of strategic signaling. If what you're hearing resonates with you, you'll find real value in my ebooks. Beyond the Shadow breaks down Jung's core ideas, while Dialogues with the Unconscious gives you a 30-day path to apply them in your life. Both are linked in the pinned comment. In a world where everyone speaks, promises have lost their value. I will change, I deserve, I will do better. These are worn-out words, inflated by overuse and a scarcity of action. And game theory is relentless about this. What you say has no value if it is not accompanied by a real cost. This is the principle of strategic signaling. It is not enough to say who you are what you intend, or what you deserve. You need to prove it. And the only reliable way to do that is through costly actions, those that require time, effort, sacrifice, or risk. In other words, true signals are expensive, and that is precisely why they work. Let's start with an example from the animal world. The male peacock displays an enormous, heavy tail full of vibrant colors. From a biological standpoint, this tail makes him slower, more visible to predators, more vulnerable. But that is exactly what makes it an effective signal. It is costly. Only a truly healthy peacock, with ample resources, can maintain such an extravagant ornament. The females know this. The tail is more than beauty. It is a biological testament to strength. In the human world, the principle is the same. You can tell your boss that you are committed, or you can volunteer to lead a complex project. You can promise change to your partner, or you can act in concrete, repeated, and visible ways over time, giving up comforts, changing routines, creating real discomfort. People do not trust words, they trust sacrifices. In negotiations, signaling is also decisive. When you present yourself with established results, with real cases, with numbers on the table, you are sending costly signals that took time, dedication, and competence. This positions you immediately above those who come with empty promises. In personal relationships, the same applies. You do not earn respect by saying you are reliable, but by demonstrating reliability when it requires effort. But be careful. Do not confuse costly signals with theatrical gestures. True signals do not need to be spectacular. They just need to be hard to fake. If anyone can say what you say, and if anyone can act as you act, then your signal is weak. Strategy is about communicating what few can sustain. The problem for most people is that they rely too much on verbal communication. They think that arguments, explanations, or justifications are enough to convince, negotiate, or position themselves. However, in real games, especially the most competitive ones, reputation is not built with speeches, but with evidence. The lesson is clear. If you want to be taken seriously, stop talking, start signaling. Show what you tolerate and what you do not tolerate, not by saying, but by reacting. Show your value by delivering results, not by promising intentions. Show that you have changed by making sacrifices, not by asking for credit in advance. And here is the most advanced point. While signaling focuses on proving who you are, there is another principle that is even more powerful, one that completely shifts the balance of a negotiation. It is not based on what you communicate, but on what you have in hand if the other side says no. This is what we call bargaining power. And in the next part, you will understand how your strength in any negotiation depends, above all, on your alternatives. We have reached the most important point of this journey, the realization that most people are not exactly losing, they are just surviving, repeating behaviors, patterns, and reactions that have been inherited, conditioned, or learned in an attempt to avoid pain, rejection, conflict. But living to avoid losses is not the same as living to win. And that is the most devastating structural error in the game of life, playing not to lose instead of playing to win. Game theory shows us that in many contexts, acting with strategic timidity, chronic hesitation, or emotional neutrality is equivalent to being defeated before even making your first move. Because the world does not reward neutrality, the world rewards clarity, strength, and positioning. People who play to survive avoid difficult decisions, postpone important conversations, stay in places that suffocate them, accept relationships that corrode them. They confuse resistance with resilience, and they confuse passivity with emotional intelligence. But inside, they are exhausted, not from too much action, but from too much tolerance. And here's the twist. Playing to win is not about being aggressive, manipulative, or cold. It is simply about stepping out of automatic mode, It is about stopping reacting and starting to calculate. It is about observing patterns, understanding the logic of the system, knowing your own resources, and applying the right strategy in the right game. Playing to win is being intentional, instead of being dragged along. Throughout this video, you saw how to identify the type of game you're in. You learned that poorly applied kindness turns into weakness, that reciprocity requires firmness, that signaling value requires sacrifice, that alternatives are your greatest source of power, and that some strategies should never be used because they always put you at a disadvantage. What remains now is choice. The choice between continuing to play based on impulse, conditioning, and hope, or starting to play based on strategy, awareness, and precision. The game will not stop. But now you can stop being manipulated by it and start manipulating it to your advantage. Remember, every day you are playing. The difference is that some know the game they are playing, others do not. If this video opened your eyes to a new way of seeing life, write in the comments, "Now I play with awareness." This is not just a phrase, it is a decision, a line in time between who you were and who you decided to become from here on. And if you feel that this is just the beginning, you are right, because the next video is just as important as this one. It will further expand your vision, deepen your understanding, and challenge what you believe to be true. Watch now, because your strategic transformation is just beginning.